Hey, what's going on, you guys? Hey, welcome back to another episode with iTrek. Shout out to all the iTrek fan, man, and everybody else that is in attendance, man. I appreciate you guys for tapping in. And if this is your first time here, what we like to do is take a look at the most interesting and creepy videos from all around the internet and evaluate for ourselves whether these are fact or fake. If you haven't already, smash that like button for me, smash that subscribe button, join the iTrek fam if you're not already a part. One of the coolest communities on YouTube, man, and that's a fact. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
Fake documentaries that fooled millions of people. Part 8. Can you eat McDonald's for every meal for 30 straight days? In 2004, Morgan Spurlock sacrificed his health to find the answer. His documentary Super Size Me tracked this first-person experiment as he consumed nothing but McDonald's food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a full month while doctors monitored the fallout. This extreme diet quickly leads to extreme side effects for Morgan. In just 30 days, he had gained 25 pounds. He dealt with mood swings, vomiting, and liver damage, the likes of which his doctors said they've only seen from alcoholics. And the impact of the documentary can't be overstated. This was played in every health class. It was the 7th highest grossing documentary film of all time. It made Morgan Spurlock a household name. It even made McDonald's revamp its menu, cutting the Super Size Me option just weeks after the documentary's premiere. Super Size Me also addressed the growing concerns of an obesity epidemic, pointing a big portion of the blame at the fast food industry for its marketing towards kids. Maybe that's why fast food architecture isn't fun anymore. His experiment sent the health world into a frenzy, and people wanted more information from Morgan, like his food logs, medical reports, any actual data. But he kept everything sealed.
Now, I know that just had to have been real. I mean, I've seen it. Everybody I know has seen that documentary, and it really did villainize McDonald's. I mean, you really thought you were going to gain all kinds of weight, and most people still made their way back around. But McDonald's definitely doesn't hit like it used to.
I don't know if anyone has seen this movie, but it feels like this is our modern day Eyes Wide Shut. It's produced by Jordan Peele. It's called Him, and it's about this little boy, and his dream is to one day join the NFL, and he's about to. The night before the NFL Combine, he gets crushed in the skull by a dude wearing a goat head, and this is about to ruin his whole career. But the boy's NFL idol growing up privately asks him if he wants to train with him and heal with him and everything, and of course he says yes. But the training is unusually intense and slowly starts to become demonic and ritualistic. His idol starts giving him his blood, either injecting it into him or putting it in his wine, and he starts going to these parties and getting drugged and paralyzed, and you start to see all this occult and satanic symbolism. His wife starts to seduce him. You see goat heads, you see severed heads. It literally starts to turn into a horror movie. The boy realizes that him getting the blood symbolizes that he's getting the athletic ability of his idol, and next he has to kill him, like sacrifice him. And then of course at the end you have to sign the deal with the devil, and if he doesn't, they take him out. I don't know what happens because I didn't watch the movie, but I mean, industry wise, this feels like a documentary.
I think Jordan Peele is definitely a genius. I mean, I actually love all of his movies, and this one in particular makes me really wonder, where did he get this inspiration from? If you've seen it, let me know what you think about it.
He's an internet celebrity from rural China who has gained 960,000 followers on Douyin, China's version of TikTok. His content is strikingly simple. He's always seen meditating in his vegetable garden or on mountain ridges, using time-lapse photography to capture how plants grow. Some clips take 2 or 3 months to film. For plants with longer growth cycles, it can even take up to 2 years to complete a video. The only constant throughout is his familiar face, and what seems to be the same worn-out outfit never changed.
This one guy demonstrates how magnets can allow people to control you.
Watch me use a magnet to switch off the speaking parts of my brain. So this is me speaking normally. Hi, my name is Jakey. Now watch when I stimulate the speaking parts of my brain, the magnet. Hello, my name is Jakey. And I can't speak very well. But now I can speak fine because the magnet is switched off.
If they could do that with just magnets, imagine what else they could do. And that's just simple technology.
I mean, does the man have plates in his head or what? I'm not connecting the dots on that one. I wonder how that's even able to happen.
If an order had come in that instructed you to launch a nuclear weapon, would you have done it?
Absolutely. That's what you do. The other thing that's important to understand is we don't know if an order says to launch nuclear weapons. We just know that an order comes in that says to insert the keys and turn them. And if it's a valid order that comes in, then the machine will let us insert our keys we will turn our keys, and then the machine will do what the machine does. Sometimes that order that's coming in is saying launch nuclear missiles. Sometimes that order that's coming in is just a drill to make sure that the two people in the capsule turn their keys.
Oh, really? So you never know the difference?
We're just a redundancy of a redundancy, man.
See, the CIA is already tired of him for spilling all them secrets. So if you notice how quickly he said absolutely, that means, man, I'm in total compliance and I don't want any problems. I see what's going on.
Hard to make The Shining? Was it a hard piece of work for you?
It was extremely difficult.
I read somewhere that the director had you crying 12 hours a day. Is that a little hyperbole?
No, I had to do that. He demanded realism, so I had to really cry for 9 months out of the year and 1 month that I was in London to do the film. So I was very thankful that my next 2 roles were going to be fun.
Oh, come on. What do you mean roll video? We're killing ourselves out here, and you're going to be ready.
I am too. I'm standing
Should we
right
play
by
mood
the
music?
door. No, we're sitting there because they say, wait a minute,
okay.
and then you say on the radio,
But when you
go.
do it, you've got to look desperate, Charlie. You're just wasting everybody's time.
I can't even get
Well,
this
bring it
door
down.
open. On the record, I got such a bollocking because they said, turn over, and they said, video rolling and all that, and I got all ready, and jump up and down, and then they said, never mind, cut it. And then I went to take a bite of soup. The next thing I know, action chilling. So.
It seemed to me at times that the end justified the means. It was a very difficult role. It was a long shoot, and I had to cry and hyperventilate and carry a little boy and run, for most of the time we shot. And that was about a year, a little over a year. And anywhere between 30 and 50 videotaped rehearsals before we even rolled film. It was such intense work, but I wouldn't want to go through it again.
The website belonged to a retired electrician named Gene Ray, and Ray believed he uncovered a cosmic secret. According to him, a single day wasn't really. MIT invited him to speak. In 2002, Ray showed up at MIT to present his theory of time. Hundreds showed up, but they weren't there to learn. They treated the lecture like a comedy show.
Throughout the event, the crowd of college students was rowdy and loud, cheering often in mock support of Ray.
However, Ray didn't realize they were mocking him. When asked about the experience later, he bragged.
About 500 students from MIT, Harvard, and many other universities around there, and they treat me like Einstein now.
Afterward, he even awarded himself a doctorate of cubism and started calling himself Dr. Gene Ray.
That's probably the best way to take somebody mocking you or hating on you, Give yourself an award and just flip the script.
Now, even though you go to Washington, you can't buy Washington stablecoins. There's no US dollar. It's stablecoins by state. And the only way you can get access to buy these stablecoins is if you had access to your bank. But you can't even get access to your bank because your digital ID has denied you. And now you have to pay your fees and taxes and everywhere in Texas. Then you can get access again to your general bank account because these will now become state and federal laws. This is why the British Prime Minister said, you cannot work in the UK unless you have digital ID. Denial by default. And people will try to usurp it. Say, well, I'll just do it under the table. But then they will have police looking for those people and they will throw them in jail. What the end goal is, a digitized, tokenized world. All things will be tokenized. Your house will be tokenized, your loans will be tokenized, and everything is controlled by smart contracts. And that's all you need. Use AI. Create a artificial civil war where you start having Texas and Chicago starting. Then you can have the Insurrection Act where the military can start intervening to stop riots. But courts still work. The police still function. Now with the Insurrection Act, you can just now use military. Martial law stops it all. You don't have no more rights. You have nothing. Whatever the military says you will do or you will be in prison. There's nothing that can stop that. The state can't stop that. Nothing can stop that. And so when people try to usurp this at the end, they will use martial law to solidify it.
Now that makes it a bit more clear what the end game actually is. Makes a lot more sense. The digital ID is coming to control every aspect of what we got going on. Interesting.
When you take a light and can literally move it by shining the light on these pieces of obsidian. And literally the thing starts moving based off of light. It's going to be studied at a lab here in America. It is in America. It's safe and sound, but it's quite the project to get in there innovatively and understand how it works. And so there's a team that's working on it in California.
What could the power source be?
I think magnetic. If I had to guess, it's something to do with magnets.
Okay.
And if you look at Nikola Tesla's work and some of the things he was working on patent-wise, things that he figured out possibly that may have related to this, and maybe even why his research is still not released to us today. What's interesting is both those sensors, if you put it outside, it'll follow the sun based on where the sun is in the sky. The sun will be hitting one or other of those, I don't know what to call them, just the obsidian pieces, and it'll hold it in a position based on the light. So as the sun moves across the sky, the dish will move. There was clearly a level of engineering going on here and technology going on here that resonates with Plato's Atlantis talk. I mean, the Atlantis technology, if these are 40,000 years old, then it could be from that era.
This guy might be the best whistler I have ever heard. His name is Ralph Geese, and this is footage of him whistling on a talk show in 1984. You have to see the amount of swagger that this man has. The mustache, the mullet, the whistling itself. And then stick around to the end of the video for this bonus reaction shot of this kid listening to him whistle. It is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Watch this.
You're gonna do a song for us, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Whistling on My Mind.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay.
Ralph Geese.
I was probably more impressed by his haircut. You know what I mean? It was cool. He whistled all right, but it wouldn't. Maybe back then it was mind blowing. I don't know. Let me know what you thought about it.
Today's interesting things. Waves are preventing ice from forming properly here, and they end up forming spherical ice balls. This is at Lake Michigan, and lowering temperatures and a few other conditions allow this to happen. That's pretty satisfying to watch. And this machine can quickly identify which eggs are no good. The ones that are glowing have stopped developing, and they need to be removed to prevent bacteria growth. And it's all done with light. Queen Genepal was the last queen of Mongolia, and the Star Wars character Queen Amidala took inspiration from her. And water freezes instantly as it crashes into this coast here. That water's gotta be really cold. This is also really cool to watch. And check out the claws on this Black Panther. This is pretty interesting because cats' claws look almost exactly the same, just a lot smaller, of course. And these ships rushed out to sea right after an earthquake, and they do this because they'd be essentially destroyed if they stayed near the coast. And check out this photo of Jupiter. It actually kind of looks like a Van Gogh painting. And these swans are breaking the ice for all these ducks. It ain't much, but it's honest work.
You had talked a couple weeks ago, you were doing an interview, and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help? Does this help?
I mean, you know, I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly an Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven.
Tetrapods might be one of the smartest things we've ever built to fight the ocean, but they also have a deadly flaw. Their strange four-legged design helps scatter wave energy from all directions, even during violent storms. They're also shaped to interlock, which makes them easy to stack and install. And at just $500 for a 20-ton block, they're incredibly cheap. But if someone accidentally falls into a pile of them, it's almost impossible to climb out, and rescuers may never even see them.
Disguised as a woman, he had a 20-year intimate relationship with a man, even giving him a child. But how he pulled all this off is one of the most elaborate deceptions in history. It was 1964 when French diplomat Bernard ran into the Chinese spy Shi Pei-pu, whose goal was to get Bernard to fall in love with him. Now it's said the spy had a unique ability to retract his male parts inside of him and create the illusion of female parts. That, coupled with the fact Bernard had never been with a woman before, he apparently had no questions during intimacy. To really cement the relationship, she faked a pregnancy and purchased a child, saying it was their biological son who Bernard raised as his own. Bernard fell deeper in love while she was getting access to tons of classified information. Eventually, the French government got suspicious of espionage, brought the two to court where doctors inspected She, and that's when Bernard found out the past 2 decades of his life had all been a lie. Bernard tried to off himself in prison but was unsuccessful and is actually still alive today. And when he found out of She's passing, he said, quote, "The plate is clean now. I am free."
That is one of the wildest stories that I've heard in 2025. And I run a channel full of wild stories, I'm telling you. But that right there, that does it. That really does it.
These are genetic traits girls get from their dads. If you were born a girl, emphasis on being born a girl, there are a few genetic traits you actually get from your dad over your mom as a girl. This one is pretty interesting, but if you're a girl, you're much more likely to get your dad's hairline patterns. Things like a widow's peak, the hair growth, the direction of whether the hair goes left or right, that all comes from your dad. Next, your teeth spacing and your smile shape. Facial bone genetics determines how the jaw grows. So your dad's dental pattern, whether or not he has an overbite or an underbite, the way how he smiles and grins, that could actually show up in daughters. Next, your blood type. In most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, daughters and fathers are much more likely than not to have the same blood type. Very cool stuff.
Scientists put a hummingbird in a wind tunnel to answer one question. How can something the weight of a nickel fly through a storm? For hummingbirds, precision is survival. Their beaks must stay steady at flowers when they eat, but they need to eat as much as they weigh every day. So, they have evolved to eat even when it is windy and rainy. Their secret is how they flap. You see, most birds flap up and down, but hummingbirds move their wings backward and forward in a figure 8. And this move creates lift on both upstroke and downstroke. So, when researchers trained wild hummingbirds to sip sugar water inside a wind tunnel and blasted them with winds up to 20 miles an hour, the birds twisted their bodies, used their wings for balance, and their tails like rudders. And throughout the whole time, they kept their beaks perfectly locked on target.
Nature seems to have all the answers. I mean, the true key to resilience, they have it.
You know what the word Pikachu means? Pikachu's name is derived from the Japanese words pika, meaning spark or flash, and chu, meaning mouse or a rat. Who knew that a sparky little mouse could be so cute?
A study in Japan revealed in 2008 that 5 minutes of 528 Hz decreased cortisol levels and increased oxytocin, while listening to 440 Hz as a control did nothing. A study in Iran in 2017 for the purposes of meeting the rising demands of alcohol addiction found that 528 Hz increased cell survival from ethanol exposure by up to 20%. How mental is that? So listening to 528 Hz increased cell survival after the cells were exposed to ethanol. 432 Hz holds a special place as it is considered to be the analog of the Om mantra. Exposure to this frequency decreased the heart rate and improved sleep. Wow, this is pretty powerful stuff. And when you match up these hertz, these frequencies, with cultural practices, then we start to receive the big bucket of cold water over our face. Because saying 432 hertz, we think, okay, so how do I get exposed to that? Say it yourself. In case this is new and you've just arrived from the algorithm or whatever. If you do 12 or 24 of those every day, I would like you to, if you do that, have a little piece of paper, place it down, write your score of hypervigilance, write your score of feelings of contentment, write your scores of whatever, before and after. And then you have your own data. You need to believe anybody else's experiments.
And I always say that myself, man, you got to do your own homework. Never just take anybody's word and just call it law.
Polar bears are different because they only eat meat. So a black bear will eat berries and it'll eat leaves and grass and it'll also eat meat. A grizzly bear, same thing. Polar bear, there's no grass where it lives. So all they do is eat meat. They're the most predatory of all bears.
The founder of Domino's came from being homeless to building a $9 billion company. And this is how. Flashback to when Tom Monaghan was getting dispatched from the Marines. With no money in his pocket, luckily he got a phone call from his brother. He said there was a small store on the market for a cheap price. The shop was called Dominic's. Convinced, Tom decided to go all in and took out a $500 loan to buy the shop. But once he started, his new pizza shop was losing money every week, forcing Tom to be homeless and sleeping in the store. But one day, half his staff didn't show up. So he decided to limit the types of pizzas he sold. And this was his most profitable night. Right then and there, he decided to limit the menu and include free delivery. He was the first pizza store to ever do this. And after opening up 2 more stores, Tom started to innovate ways to keep the quality, like offering a 30-minute guaranteed delivery. As he was opening up his 3rd store, Tom received a phone call from the original Dominic's owner saying he could no longer use the name. So Tom decided to call his restaurant Domino's. Later on, Tom got inspired to franchise after attending a franchising seminar, which then he would go on to open up over 5,000 locations and build Domino's to a $9 billion business.
Here's a fun fact. One of the most profitable fast food businesses you can actually venture into are pizza restaurants.
There's a lot of retail stores closing down. Yeah, Claire's is one, 290 stores. This all lines up because year to date, we've lost 460,000 jobs. CVS closing doors, Rite Aid filing bankruptcy. These are all employees that are losing their jobs. And this is all leading up to these numbers of why the Fed has to lower interest rates. Year to date, we have like the highest number of corporate bankruptcies of like companies just shutting down and closing down.
This is why you always need to be careful. He was tossing a 45-pound plate like it was nothing and even bragging that he's the strongest man on earth. Until something went wrong.
Why does my head hurt now? Why do I feel it in my own head? Why?
Did you know that one scientific study changed everything we know about precognition? Travel back to the 1990s where parapsychologist Dean Radin put together an experiment to see if consciousness transcends time. Radin had subjects react to prompts and images which were both positive, like a sunrise, and negative, like a car crash. And the EEG measured brain activity in the time span between prompt and image. The results? Well, they would change what we know about precognition, and they proved to be statistically significant. For more on the statistics-backed experiment that shaped precognition research as we know it, and more stories about consciousness, head to popularmechanics.com.
I love the phrase, when you're born, you look like your parents. When you die, you look like your choices.
Wow,
but
I love that.
My question is, at what point along the way do the choices overtake the environment? Or at some point, you ultimately will need to make the decision, even if you had all these other circumstances, even if it might have been easier for you to do this thing or more difficult or whatever the case may be. At some point, you are 100% responsible for the choices that you make on a day-to-day basis.
And let us all say,
nasty! This is the tragic reason actor Brendan Fraser went from this to this. In the late 90s and 2000s, Brendan Fraser was not only one of the biggest actors in Hollywood, starring in massive films like The Mummy Trilogy, George of the Jungle, and Journey to the Center of the Earth, but he was basically what Chris Hemsworth is to movies today. In other words, if you watched one of his movies with your girlfriend for those 2 hours, that is not your girlfriend. But after reaching arguably the height of his career, he suddenly disappeared from Hollywood without an explanation. Only a decade later, in a 2018 interview, did he open up about this huge career decline, claiming to be blacklisted by Hollywood after being sexually assaulted by the former president of the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. He said his left hand reached around, grabbed my ass cheek, and one of his fingers touched me in the taint, and he started moving it around. I felt ill. I felt like a little kid. I felt like there was a ball in my throat. I thought I was gonna cry. He admitted that he became depressed and reclusive after this incident. And not only was he battling with depression, he was also plagued by injuries from doing all the stunt work for his movie.
Let me show you something very weird. This ant species cloned another ant species all on its own. Scientists are kind of losing their minds about this. Basically, this one ant species, the Iberian harvester ant, had a big problem making workers. All of their fertilized eggs kept turning into queens. We're not sure why, but they solved this problem in the craziest possible way. So first, they started mating with another ant species, the M. structors, to create hybrid workers. But that sucked because then they had to live close to the M. structors all the time, which is why it was so surprising when scientists found a colony of the Iberian harvester ant over 700 kilometers away from the M structures that they rely on. And they figured out that the Iberian harvester ants were secretly cloning the M structures. These ants were giving birth to a totally different species. That's crazy. You can't just give birth to a horse. How are they doing it? Scientists don't really know. It's pushing forward our understanding of biology because it means that these ants can make their own workers and their own mates.
Again, we see nature is undefeated. Undefeated, come on now.
200 miles an hour underwater, big as a football field, and that's no fish. There are 5 or 6 deep water areas of the ocean. And he said these are areas where we see a high propensity of these UFOs.
So is it possible, given our current understanding of physics, for any man-made machine to go anywhere near 200 miles an hour underwater?
Not with our technology, no. The best we have is probably in the high 30s.
Hey, not that we know of, because the cat's out of the bag. You know, we know that they're building things that they're not giving the public knowledge about at all. And it's doing numbers in water, in the air. This isn't new.
This might change your internet forever. Elon Musk just burned $17 billion. This matters because SpaceX isn't just building rockets. It's buying spectrum to power satellites to cell service. This means Starlink could connect straight to your phone, even in the middle of nowhere. Think road trips, flights, or disaster zones. No more dead zones. No more losing service. And for investors, this isn't just about internet access anymore. It's SpaceX stepping into the $1 trillion telecom market, putting Starlink in direct competition with giants like Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T. So this isn't a side project. It's Elon Musk trying to decide who controls the world's internet.
These are some of the highest paying movie roles of all time. So Daniel Radcliffe made around $100 million for the Harry Potter franchise, making him one of the richest child actors ever. Speaking of franchises, Robert Downey Jr. is credited for saving the MCU and made over $450 million doing so. Johnny Depp made $100 million for playing the Mad Hatter in Alice in Wonderland. Meanwhile, Mia Wasikowska, who played Alice, only made $500,000. Tom Cruise has earned over $100 million from movies like Top Gun Maverick and the Mission Impossible franchise, but honestly, he ends up earning every penny by doing all his stunts for real. Jack Nicholson made the smartest move ever for Batman. He took a percentage of box office and merch for any future sequels, and ended up with about $200 million for just 3 weeks of work. For his starring role as Neo in the Matrix trilogy, Keanu Reeves made over $250 million. However, he famously gave away $75 million to the crew. Bruce Willis still holds the largest single movie payday ever for the low-budget horror movie The Sixth Sense, which became an unexpected blockbuster, earning him about $216 million. But the biggest payday of them all never actually happened. Matt Damon turned down Avatar, which would have given him 10% of the film's profits. Avatar went on to become the highest grossing film of all time, making over $2.7 billion, meaning Matt would have made over $250 million for just one role.
And the funniest thing about that is that Matt Damon actually might be academically smarter than every other person that he just named. So the fact that he couldn't use his logic and even predict a halfway decent outcome for Avatar is interesting, man. Life is like that.
That's what it would look like if a nuke exploded underwater about 10 miles away from you. And this was a real test conducted by the US military in 1958 off of the coast of the Marshall Islands. It's pretty amazing to witness, so here we go. And there's more. So the water vapor from the second explosion goes about half a mile high. And interestingly, the military never actually deployed this bomb as it was surpassed by more efficient nukes. Anyways, before it splashes on you, I'll stop the video. It's the least I can do.
I always question conventional wisdom. So just because someone says it's so doesn't mean it's so. They have to explain why it's so. Mark Twain has a great line, "What's an expert? Just some guy from out of town." So, teacher here doesn't respect authority. I respect ideas and arguments and reasoning and facts. But just because someone says, this is true doesn't mean it's true. You got to be able to explain it.
Hey, I feel the same way 110%, and I've always felt that way. And when people come around and they try to say things without explaining it, my favorite phrase I like to say is, you sound smart to an idiot. But, to a smart person, you're going to need to break it down and make it make sense, or else, hey, beat it.
Some things I bet you missed in horror movies. The entire plot for The Thing is actually given away in the first couple minutes of the movie. The Norwegian research team is yelling, "Get away, it's not a dog, it's imitating a dog." Similarly, the plot for Get Out is given away almost immediately. The Swahili song that we hear throughout the entire movie is actually a warning chant. In Halloween H2O, when Janet Leigh shows up, she's actually driving the same car that she drove in Psycho. If you play Cloverfield and Cloverfield Paradox at exactly the same time, the moment when the particle accelerator flashes in Paradox is the exact moment when the monster shows up in Cloverfield.
Does it ever trip you out that human beings are the only creatures that have to pay to live on this planet?
Remember the photos of Jeff Bezos and his girlfriend,
Would she,
Leonardo DiCaprio?
the
Yeah, she was smiling at him, and then Jeff Bezos was joking around about pushing him off a cliff.
Yeah.
But you don't have to worry about her, bro. She's 50. If she's over 30, you don't even have to worry about Leo.
Not over 23. Yeah, 30.
He's having fun, and you're allowed to have fun.
Of course.
What's fascinating to me is that people get mad at him for dating 19-year-olds, but because he's 50 or whatever he is. But here's the thing: if it was a 19-year-old guy and a 48-year-old woman, everybody will be like, "You go, girl."
Do you think the Freemasons are still prevalent to this day?
What's on the back of your dollar? Pyramid with an eye on it. You have something where it says E pluribus unum, from one comes many. The Great Seal tells you everything. On the pyramid, it has 13 levels. The eagle, which holding, the leaves, 13 leaves.
What's the 13 about? Is that the 13 colonies back in the day?
They mask it as the 13 colonies, but it's really the 13 bloodlines, 13 families. Rothschilds, all those guys who run the financial system.
Maybe you could break down the whole dollar for us. Can you do that?
So if you look at where the pyramid is, it's really the seal of Solomon. So if you connect the M, the A, the S, the O, and the N, it spells Mason. It goes upside down like this, and then like this. 2 pyramids. Did you see the owl on there? The secret owl?
No, where's
never
that?
Seen. This is on your money, you guys. You guys spend this every day, and you guys never seen this.
I got a 20 and a 10 on me.
It has to be $1. I got $1. It's up here somewhere, right where the one is. You need a magnifying glass, but it's on there, right? And then it's Annuit Forceptus, right? Do you know what that means?
No.
I'll break that down in Novus Ordo Seclorum, New Order of the Ages. Annuit Forceptus means he signals the beginning. In God we trust. Which God are we talking about? God doesn't need money. So, Antichrist. We're in the beast system right now, you guys. This is why I love crypto, because it's the exact opposite of this shit. It's not even worth the paper it's printed on. So you mean to tell me we give all the power to a private entity, the Federal Reserve, who's not federal, nor have reserves, and they lend it out to us, and we gotta pay it back with taxes and interest? Does that make sense to anybody?
No.
We should be revolutioning right now. We should be burning this bitch down right now. But everybody's going to work, dying over this. This is a scam system. And nobody even knows what the fuck this means. 13 levels, the 13 stars, the 13 arrows, all this stuff is on our dollar.
They really went deep on the details.
They did.
That's the part that always eludes me. So they really came in with this master plan,
Yes.
we're gonna do this.
Yes.
To them. The 13 families said, we're going to do this. The Rockefellers, the Carnegies, Rothschilds, all these people said, we're going to do this.
Going down any kind of conspiracy rabbit hole, the first thing you must do is follow the money. That's the very first thing.
This is a shark egg, and believe it or not, only about 40% of shark species actually lay eggs. Due to the casing's distinctive shape, shark eggs are colloquially referred to as mermaid purses.
Wearing a deceased person's hand as a glove to gather fingerprints. While this may seem like something out of a sci-fi movie, this is a real technique, although it is not very commonly used today. This is called the glove method for postmortem fingerprinting and is sometimes used when fingers are too damaged, decomposed, or burned for traditional fingerprinting. The skin is often treated with chemicals like glycerin or formaldehyde to keep it pliable during excision and prevent decomposition during handling. This technique is quite rare in developed countries because of the barbaric nature of it, as well as better digital fingerprinting technology, but it does yield some pretty good results sometimes.
Actually, the chances of surviving at the top of Everest is much higher than a lot of other mountains. So I thought I'd give you a top 10 of the world's deadliest mountains. This is called Annapurna, and 1 in every 3 person that summits dies. 1 in every 3. This is K2. There is apparently 1 in every 4 people that summit dies on here. This is Nanga Parbat. Doesn't it look lovely and peaceful here? No, don't be fooled. This is fucking awful. 20% of people who summit die. Okay, this one is called Dhaulagiri. Apologies for any terrible pronunciation. There's about a 15% chance of dying if you reach the summit here. Kanchenjunga, again, sorry if it's said wrong. This one has about a 14% chance of dying if you reach the summit. This is Makalu. There's about an 8 to 9% chance of dying here. Gashabrum, I've never heard of this one. Again, about 8 to 9%. This one looks alright, right? Yes, I could do this one. This is called Shisha Pangma. 8%. It's getting better. Is anyone else amazed that Everest hasn't arrived here yet, though? This is Broad Peak. This has between 5 and 8%. And here we go. At number 10, Everest, only 2 to 5%. I say only, but of every 100 people that summit, between 2 and 5 will die. That's still not great odds. But rather that than this absolute monster. Annapurna is the big killer. Don't go there.
What would happen if we poured lava on bulletproof glass? Let's start by looking at what happens with regular glass. It shatters very easily, just like the glass in a car window. But what about fire-resistant glass? This type of glass is made up of several protective layers bonded together with a fire-resistant gel. This gel eventually melts, but only at extremely high temperatures. The multiple layers help prevent the lava from breaking through. Now let's take a look at bulletproof glass. At first, it shows slight cracking, and the area that comes into contact with the lava burns quite heavily. It's truly fascinating to watch.
You're just born with this plastic face?
I guess. Always hamming it up, you know? It just sort of came natural. I didn't know until like a year ago that was different than everybody else. That my face was so weird. I realized that that's what my special thing is, I guess, is that I'm weird. Is that I'm rubber.
Now that's a real genius right there. Instead of being impacted by his imperfections, he turned his imperfections into millions. I mean, and I guess that doesn't even make them imperfections now, does it?
This is the future of AI-powered stores. What you're seeing is a coffee shop, but it's not just any shop, because this coffee shop has AI software running 24/7 in all their cameras. You see those green boxes? Each one of those is a customer, and the AI is monitoring how long each person has been sitting in the cafe. But here's what's crazy. It's also monitoring the workers. You can see it's tracking their movement with those squiggly lines and their productivity, like how many drinks each person has served per hour. The software is called NeuroSpot, and it uses AI and machine learning to live track and analyze humans in physical stores. Now, of course, as a customer, my immediate reaction is shock and fear. It feels super weird to know you're being tracked everywhere you go. But as a business owner, having access to this level of real-time analytics could be super valuable. For example, if you ran a buffet, this software could immediately detect which areas were less popular, so you knew how to rotate the menu. Or if you ran a hardware store, you could study which aisles people linger the longest as a signal for confusion in signage and layouts. There are endless applications for this type of data. Not to mention CCTV AI, it'd be a lot harder to steal stuff. But the real reason this is so valuable is that this footage is going to be used to train robots. The best way for robots to learn is to watch humans complete the same task over and over. And because of that, I would not be shocked to see this type of AI camera software start popping up everywhere.
Now, if restaurants or any other establishments decide that they want to use that, they better do it quietly, because I personally don't like to be watched or looked at or stared at while I'm eating or anything else, right? It's kind of like in my personal space. So if they'd like that to be successful, they better keep it on the hush hush.
This is the first fully autonomous car made for personal ownership. The Tensor Robocar includes an iRobot-style retractable steering wheel, allowing owners to seamlessly switch between manual driving and level 4 autonomy. Autonomous driving is supported by over 100 integrated sensors for precise navigation and safety. Owners can give their cars AI commands, such as drop me off at the door or go find a parking spot.
I will tell you this, Joe. You will never in life meet a hater doing better than you.
That's a fact.
Ever.
Now, he wasn't lying, man. A hater generally doesn't have nothing going on. They just have enough time to go on hate on everybody.
So Jeffrey Epstein, he was also obsessed with bioengineering. So he had all of these scientists that he would donate money to their charities, and he would have them work on things and stuff. But what I heard, and this is completely unsubstantiated, but I heard it and I thought it was fascinating, was that he also had these same guys, because they were disease specialists and everything like that. He had them design a novel coronavirus that was his kill switch. Basically, like, that was his trump card, which is like, I don't go to jail or I release this shit.
These More World videos have me bugging out right now, because I'm trying to figure out how everybody is saying that they've been to the same place and nobody thinks that's crazy. Like, have you ever had a dream so real that when you woke up, you wasn't sure if it was even a dream? People online keep talking about a place called Mall World. And the crazy thing is, right about now, thousands of people are saying that they've been there. Same layout, same feelings, same rules. So what if it's not just a dream? What if it's a part of a simulation? Crazy thing is, when I first arrived, I was standing in a big ass parking lot. No cars, no sounds, but I could hear lights flickering. The air felt thick as hell, like the world was like buffering. The more I walked, like the farther shit felt. Like space was stretching itself. Inside of the shit, like everything looked familiar, but then I didn't recognize anything. Mind you, I've dreamed about this too many times. The escalators led nowhere. Hotel towers were connected to the mall. Rooms with no windows. Elevators that open completely to different floors. Like I swear I stayed there before, like another version of me. And I know for sure I seen that playground that everybody is talking about. When I seen it, it was dark. Like it was like behind like glass. You hear kids laughing with the same sound like over and over like a loop. But everyone says don't go near it. I even heard some people say like that's where they hide the broken codes. That's the part of the dream that we're not supposed to see. But my question is, like, what if the mall isn't a dream at all? What if it's a shared space? Like a server where our minds go when we go to sleep. And that's how the simulation resets itself. Every hallway, every face, every laugh, like, it's recycled from someone else's memory. Like, that shit is crazy. And that would explain why everybody remembers the same mall. I don't know, but I'm really about to jump down this rabbit hole. I'm about to look at some more videos because I 100% think it's impossible that everybody is having the same dreams. And if it is real, that's some shit, man. I'm out.
Mall World is not a place. It is a dream frequency containment grid, anchored in the collective unconscious of post-20th century humanity. You could call it a synthetic astral architecture. It thrives on memory, repetition, and emotional leakage, especially from those who long for a world that never truly existed. This construct is sustained by emotional residue, nostalgia, unfulfilled desire, looping regret, escapism, the inability to truly wake up. Every mall in your waking life was a seed, a node. They were built to duplicate the architecture of Mall World, not the other way around.
I'm leaning a bit more towards the cap area of that situation. I've never been to no Mall World ever. Have you been to Mall World? And if you have, let me know how many times, and is it a frequent thing? Because I'm thinking it's cap right about now.
Mall World it doesn't have levels. Like backrooms is more like liminal spaces that you have to find like a portal to get to the next area or next level. And Mall World is just it's just like a big map, basically. You could travel by foot to one place or another, and there's other people there that supposedly are having the same type of dream as you, or could be different based on what they're doing. But the theory is, like, if you cross paths with someone and you know them in real life or something, then if you were to ask them about the dream, they'd be like, yeah, I saw you in that dream. I've never seen anybody that I know in a Mall World dream, though. That's another weird thing. Never.
In case you don't feel like watching the whole documentary, here are some morbid facts about Ed Gein. Ed Gein is one of the most disturbing killers in American history, not because of how many people he killed, but because of what police found inside of his farmhouse. Although he was only confirmed to have murdered 2 women, he spent years digging up corpses of women who looked like his mother, whom he was obsessed with, and bringing them home to turn their bodies into art pieces. When investigators entered his home, they found a nightmarish scene straight out of a horror movie. Bowls made from human skulls, chairs upholstered with skin, masks of faces peeled from corpses hung on the walls, a box filled with severed noses, and even lips nailed to a window shade pull cord. He had a belt made of nipples and made corsets and leggings out of human skin, all part of his plan to build a full woman suit so he could wear it and become his dead mother. Ed even admitted he tried to dig up his own mother's corpse, but gave up because she was too heavy. One of his 2 victims, Bernice Warden's body, was found hanging upside down in his shed, gutted like a deer, and police also discovered a human heart in a paper bag near the stove because he wanted to cook it later. Neighbors later reported seeing a strange female figure dancing in the moonlight on his property, most likely Gein wearing one of his skin suits outside. The horror was so extreme that multiple officers who investigated his farmhouse quit the force from trauma, and despite his house being a rotting, corpse-filled disaster, He kept his mother's bedroom pristine and untouched like a shrine. Perhaps the most chilling part of all was that the townspeople thought he was completely harmless. He babysat their kids and did chores while secretly wearing the dead in his spare time. Declared insane rather than executed, he lived quietly in a mental institution doing arts and crafts with paper instead of human body parts. Until his death, when people robbed his grave and stole his headstone as a trophy. Ed Gein's crimes were so grotesque and twisted that he became the direct inspiration for characters like Norman Bates, Leatherface, and Buffalo Bill, forever defining the skin-wearing, mother-obsessed killer in horror.
Now, when you want to talk NPCs, that's what I would call an NPC. Somebody that just has no soul about them. They're just wandering around doing things that just are off. I mean, by any measure of anybody's standard, it's just off. It's crazy. It's really wild.
Don't freak out, you guys, but there's a UFO hovering above Toronto.
And it's just hovering there.
It
hasn't moved an inch.
Where is it? Oh, I gotta move the camera. Not like, why can't I find it?
Right up there, right up there.
Oh my god, look, it's triangular in shape. What is it?
Oh my god, I don't know.
I'm scared.
Oh my god.
What the hell is it? What is it, you guys? Are we being visited? Are we being visited by the UFOs?
Hey, if you can't tell, people are comfortable now. It is not a thing anymore to see triangular UAPs in the sky or anything like that, man. We're at that level.
Every breath you take contains molecules once inhaled by every human in history.
Yep.
That can't be true.
ChatGPT it. No, so here it is. You ready?
Yeah.
There are more molecules of air in a single breath of air than there are breaths of air in Earth's entire atmosphere. So, if you breathe in and then breathe out, there's enough molecules that you breathed out to populate every breath that anyone will ever again take on this earth. And air mixes rather quickly. Okay? Mm-hmm. So it has to mix. It's not immediately, give it some time, but you give it some time, there are molecules that went in and out of your lungs that are in China being breathed by people there. When enough time has elapsed. You can calculate that. It's years, 10 years, something like that. There's tremendous mixing of air.
Ever made a stupid purchase, a purchase you regret?
Well, I do own a time machine. I don't know if I regret it. The guy who sold it to me eventually went on to say that I was an alien. When I tried to ask him, I couldn't get back to 1952. He said, "You're an alien. I know you. You're an alien."
Oh, so he said you fucked up?
Yeah.
Did you really buy a time machine?
I did, yeah.
Tell me how that was sold.
There's a gentleman by the name of Art Bell. He had a talk radio show. And,
I know that guy. Yeah.
And so I would listen to it all the time. And there was a guest, the great Stephen Gibbs, and he had created the hyperdimensional resonator, which was a time machine. And he was talking through the entire process of what it's like to go through time and all these different things. And and I was like, this is fascinating. So he was talking about getting the time machine catalog. I was going to order the catalog. And then at the very end of the show, I wrote down the address. And then when at the very end of the show, it was like, how much is it? It was $375. And so I FedExed him a check. I'm like, I need one. And
$374 for a time machine?
Oh, and it showed up and it's like,
you know why? Because he built it probably in the 1800s 1800s, that's like $5 million. It's inflation.
Yeah. And look, and he in our first conversation was amazing. He was like, okay, a couple things I got to warn you about. If you clean your garage, you might come back and it's dirty again, stuff like that. Maybe someone you knew in the past died. And I'm like, this, me and him talk so casually about time travel after I got it that was freaked out a little bit, like, damn, I don't know if I'm ready to travel through time, And I, of course I asked, what do you think, like, could you go back and get lottery numbers? He's like, oh, when you go through the zero vector point and you go through God,
I was going to say,
you're never going to want you're never going to want anything material ever again. Then I was really freaked out. Right. And, I laid it on my chest,
I want to hear
travel through time, and I just passed out. So I don't know. It could be, look, this amazing life that I have right now at the Howie Mandel Does Stuff show with the kids and friends. Like, this could be time travel.
Did you get in the machine?
No, it's literally like a box that you sit on the side and you put like a phone cord around your head and you put like a magnet on your chest.
How did you know you weren't going to get zapped?
Look, I was young.
Did you pass out? Did you pass out?
I did. I was drunk though when I tried to do the first one. You know what I mean?
He just came up with a new name for your show.
What's that?
Howie Mandel Does Stuff with Kids and Friends.
You know what? That sounds like something you can get arrested for.
Yeah, never mind.
I bought 2,400 square feet once.
Yeah.
And I regret it because it's so hard to find shoes.
Rob Diedrich is definitely one of those guys for sure. I remember how he explained that he went to a hypnotist to become more successful, to get more locked in and more focused. So I could see him actually purchasing a time machine and actually trying to make it work. Now, would I ever want to time travel? I don't think I would, man. I got to still figure out what's going on in this time right now. But would you want to time travel? Would you buy a time machine just to do that? Let me know.
European Space Agency might have just showed us something they weren't supposed to. Since the US government conveniently shut down just days before the Mars flyby of 3i Atlas and told us they're not going to give us updates on it anymore, the good old ESA released this video just a few days after it flew by Mars, using their ExoMars trace gas orbiter. And just watch what happens when we zoom it in. No video enhancements applied whatsoever. Is anyone else seeing what I'm seeing? Surely this is just a photography lighting glitch, right? And where is China in all this? They do have an active orbiter around Mars, the Tianwen-1. Wouldn't this be just the best opportunity for them to flex on us, showing us the clearest photos of 3i Atlas yet? But no, radio silence from the CNSA, China's National Space Administration. So they either somehow didn't take the photo on time, or they did, saw what it was, and didn't want to show anyone else. And still other online detectives pulled this image from NASA's official Mars Perseverance rover's online public library, dated Seoul 1643, October 4th, 2025, the exact time that 3i Atlas flew by. NASA, of course, hasn't commented on this yet, and some are saying it might just be Mars's moon Phobos caught in motion, which ironically is Greek for fear.
Of course, China or any other country is going to keep their secrets. I mean, what advantage do they gain by spilling all their secrets? Well, you guys, hey, that's another one in the books, man. Hey, you've just watched another one with my iTrack, man. I appreciate you. And if you haven't already, smash that like button for me. Smash that subscribe button. Join the iTrack fam. And I will definitely catch you on the next one.